today we are going to go over the CDL Class B pre-trip inspection. It's your standard dump truck. We're going to go over the new modernized version. A couple notes and point that you will be automatically disqualified for any safety-related acts. This will be uncontrolled movement of the vehicle, anything out of the ordinary as far as that goes, or entering or exiting the vehicle without a 3-point stance. So, without 3 points of contact. So, go ahead and demonstrate what that is, and then we'll get started with the pre-trip inspection. So 3 points of contact, that's going to mean that you are facing the vehicle anytime you're entering or exiting. It means 3 points of your body are contacting the truck at all times. So if you're lifting a foot, you have 2 hands, 1 foot. If you're on 2 feet, you're going to have 2 feet, 1 hand. You're going to have 3 points of contact at every point while you are entering the vehicle. Another note is that you will be allowed to have this checklist with you while you're taking the test. I highly suggest that you use it and check all these items off as you go, so that way you don't forget or skip anything. You are not allowed to have any other pieces of paper or any additional markings on this piece of paper on test day. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is our air and brake tests. Those are probably the most important part to get right. It is an automatic failure. If you do not complete these properly, you are allowed to restart if needed. So let's go ahead and demonstrate how this goes. First thing we're going to do is the governor cutoff check. We're going to start the vehicle. We're simply going to watch the air needles to make sure that the governor cuts out between 120 and 140 psi. Once it does that, we will resume our brake test. Now, if you start the truck and you're already at pressure, those needles aren't going to move. You can explain that to your instructor. The needles aren't moving. I'm within the proper range, so that means that the cutoff is working. Okay. So we got to 100 psi, brake pressure release valve go off, the needle stop moving, which means governor cutoff didn't work properly. For the next test, which is the air leakage test, what we're going to do is we're going to turn the truck off. We're going to turn the key back into the on position. We're going to firmly press the brake and release the parking brake. Once the air pressure stabilizes, we're going to set a timer for 1 minute. The truck should not lose more than 3 psi. If I had a trailer, it would be 4 psi, but only 3 psi in 1 minute. So we'll start time now. Okay, 1 minute is passed. I did not lose more than 3 psi, so we have passed the test. The next thing we're going to do is our alarm and buzzer test. Okay, so what we're going to do now is our alarm and buzzer test. So what we're going to do is we're going to fan down the brakes. The alarm light should activate and the buzzer should sound before, important word, before we get to 55 psi. Okay, the alarm and buzzer went off at 60 psi, which was in compliance, so we passed that test. Next thing we're going to do is our emergency brake test. We are going to finish fanning down the brake, and then between 20 and 45 psi, the emergency parking brake should trip. Alright, we got a 30 psi, and the parking brake did pop out and apply, so now we can move on to our next test. Okay, so now we're going to make sure that the truck is in neutral. The parking brake should already be applied because it just popped out. So now we're going to restart the truck to rebuild air pressure. And so you don't have to build it all the way back to 120 psi, and you can give a little bit of gas to help build the air a little bit. I usually get it to about 90 psi before we take the next, which is our parking brake test. All right, so we built pressure back up. So the next one is parking brake test, which is real simple. All we're going to do is we're going to put our foot on the brake. We're going to put the truck in drive with the parking brake still applied, and we're going to give it a little bit of gas. Okay, we hit the accelerator. The truck did not pull, indicating that the parking brake is working properly. Alright, so next we're going to do the service brake test, which is real simple. We're going to put our foot on the brake. We're going to release the parking brake. We're going to put the truck in drive. We're going to drive it forward at least 5 miles an hour. We're going to smoothly apply the brakes. And what we're going to do is make sure that the truck does not pull to the left, to the right, give off any indication that the braking is affecting steering capabilities. Okay, we went 5 miles an hour. I applied the brakes. The truck did not pull to the left, to the right, or give off any noises or indications of affected braking capabilities. Alright, so we've tested the brakes. Now we're going to move on. We're going to check all of our lighting indicators that are on the dashboard. First thing you're going to note is you're going to tell the tester that when I turned on the truck, I did notice that DEF and the ABS lights both came on and went off, indicating that they're functioning properly. So then you're going to check your left turn signal, your right turn signal, your four-way flashers. You're going to turn on your headlights. Make sure that the dashboard illuminates as it should. It does, and then check your high beams. Make sure your high beam indicator comes on. That's it for that. Alright, next thing we're going to check is our emergency equipment. This is 3 parts. First thing we're going to state is that we have a fire extinguisher that is fully charged and operational, is behind the seat, and is properly mounted and secured. The other thing we're going to tell them is that we have 3 reflective triangles. They are properly mounted and secured. They are also behind the seat. Next thing you're going to notice is that we have spare fuses. You should have one size for every size of the truck. This truck does not have them. This truck is equipped with circuit breakers. If your truck is equipped with circuit breakers, you need to make sure you let the tester know that. Next thing we're going to check is our windshield monitoring devices. So for the windshield, it is properly mounted and secure. It is clean and clear. It is not cracked or broken. There is no illegal stickers other than inspection stickers blocking my view. You're going to check your mirrors, both driver's and passenger side. They are properly mounted and secure. They are clean and clear, not cracked or broken, and they are properly aligned for my view. If you had rear view or side view monitoring, not a backup camera, but rear view or side view monitoring cameras in the vehicle, at this point we would inspect those. This truck does not have this, so we'll skip that. Alright, next thing we're going to check is our windshield wipers. We're going to notice that the arms and blades, they are properly mounted and secured. That the blades are soft and pliable. They are firmly affixed to the window, and then you're going to operate them. And show that they operate properly. Then you're going to check your windshield washer fluid. Sprayers are properly mounted and secured. They're properly aimed, and then you are also going to demonstrate and activate them. Once you do so, you'll see the system working properly and not leaving streaking on the windshield. Then you're going to move on to your heater and defroster. What you're going to do at that point is all you've got to do is put it on floor heat, turn it to heat, make sure it's coming out of the floor. Tell them the heater is working. You're going to switch it to defrost. Defroster is working. You're going to put it back on air conditioning because it's really hot this time of year. And then you're going to check your horns. You're going to check your air horn and your city horn. This truck does not have an air horn, so you might need to check it. City horn works properly. That there completes the end cap portion of the CDL pre-trip. Alright, next we're going to do the light operations check, and in order to do that, you're going to ask your CDL tester if you can go to the front of the vehicle while you check your lights, and you are going to have to roll your window down and direct him where to go as you were testing lights. You're going to test the front, both sides, and the back of the vehicle to make sure they are working properly. if the vehicle had side indicator lights, you test those. This vehicle does not, so all we have to do, marker and turn signals. Now all we have to do is clearance and marker lights. So clearance and marker lights on the side of the vehicle. Good. Can you please check the rear of the vehicle? Left turn signal. Right turn signal. Once you've completed your light operations, you're going to go ahead and get out of the vehicle. Ensure that you use 3 points of contact while exiting the vehicle. Alright, so next after that we're going to do the lenses on the vehicle. There's 2 ways to do this. You can do the lenses as you go around the vehicle. I prefer to do them all at the same time. So that way I make sure I don't forget them when I'm on the inside of the vehicle. Once again, the lenses is something you have to do on all sides of the vehicle. So at the front, my clearance and marker lights, my left and right turn signal, my headlights. They are all present. They are properly mounted and secure. They are clean, clear, not broken, proper color. Then we'll go to the side of the vehicle. Again, we don't have a side marker or a side turn signal. We're going to check the clearance and marker lights. They are properly mounted and secure. They are not cracked, broken, or missing, and they are the proper color. The reflective tape is properly mounted and secured. If there's no excessive wear to make it unreadable. If the truck does not have reflective tape, you do not need to cover. Now we'll go to the rear of the vehicle. Left turn signals, right turn signals, 4-way flashers, clearance lights, marker lights, reverse lights are all properly mounted and secure. They're clean and clear, not cracked, broken, or missing, and they are the proper colors. Go to the other side of the vehicle. The reflective tape is properly mounted and secure. It is readable and legible and not excessively long. There's marker lights on this side of the vehicle, properly mounted and secure. They are clean, clear, present, not cracked or broken, and they are the proper color. Reflective tape, properly mounted and secure, is proper color, and there's no excessive wear. That'll complete the lights portion, the lens portion of the test. Okay, so once you complete your lenses, we're going to move on to under the hood. Before I open the hood, there's 2 ways you can do this. Before I open the hood, I note that the truck is not leaning to the forward or to the rear, front or back, or to either side, indicating suspension issue. I also indicate that I see no puddles on the ground underneath the engine or transmission, showing a leak. You can also do leaning to the left to right, front, rear, as you're doing your suspension check, and your fluid leak as you're doing your leak check. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and open the hood. And I like to start at the passenger side of the vehicle because there's only one thing you have to do over there under the hood. Go ahead over there. Just to indicate that you are looking at fluid and air hoses, making sure that there are no abrasions, bulges, or cut in the hoses. The connections are in good condition. They are properly mounted and secure, and that there are no visible leaks. You're also going to indicate that you do not see any visible leaks on the front or underside of the motor or transmission. Then we'll go to the other side and we'll do the same thing. Check all air and fluid hoses to make sure you're touching them, that they are properly mounted and secure, that the connections are properly mounted and secure. There are no abrasions, bulges, cuts, or any leaking. We're also going to once again mention that you're checking the front and underside of the motor and transmission for any visible leaks, and I'm not seeing any. Once you are checking for leaks, you want to put a special emphasis for coolant hoses, power steering hoses, and particulars. Those are ones you need to mention. Next, we're going to do our fluid levels. There's 3 main ones you need to check. It indicates that you're checking your coolant level, that it is between the add and maximum line at the proper operating level. Mention that you would check your oil. Your oil, he would ask you how you would test that. I checked it this morning, it is good. How would you check it? I would remove the dipstick, wipe it clean, reinsert the dipstick, remove the dipstick again, and check to make sure it is between add and full. Then you're going to move on to your power steering. Your power steering fluid, you can clearly see that it is between minimum and maximum. Okay, so after we do our leaks, we're going to move on to our power steering, our steering system. First thing we're going to check our power steering gearbox. It is properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, damaged, broken. There's no leaks. All hardware is properly mounted and secured, not broken or missing. Want to check the hose is properly mounted and secured. Connections are properly mounted and secured. There's no visible leaks, no breaks, bolts, or cuts in the lines. Then you're going to check your linkage. The keyword is linkage. If you start naming individual parts, you have to name all of the individual parts. So just use the keyword linkage going from the gearbox to the tire. That linkage is not cracked, broken, or damaged. It is not bent or missing. All hardware is properly mounted and secure, including capsule nuts and cotter keys. None are missing. There are no signs of looseness. From there, we'll move on to our suspension. We're going to start with our leaf springs. They are properly mounted and secured. They're not cracked, damaged, or broken, and they are properly aligned. There is no scissoring. We're going to talk about leaf hangers. They are properly mounted and secured. They're not cracked, damaged, or broken. All hardware is properly mounted and secured. There's no signs of looseness. Now have to mention specifically the U-bolts. U-bolts are properly mounted and secured. They're not cracked, damaged, or broken. Hardware is intact with no missing hardware. You'll move on to your shock absorber. The shock absorber is properly mounted and secured. All nuts, bolts are present and tight. There's not cracked, damaged, broken, or bent, and there's no signs of leaking. And you'll talk about your brake lines here. You have to speak of those specifically. Like brake lines, they are properly mounted and secured, connected on both ends. Connections are properly mounted and secured. No signs of leaking. No abrasions, bulges, or cuts on the air line. Keyword is air can move freely through the line. You must say air can move freely through the line. Now we're going to check the inside of our brake drum for contaminants. What you're going to do there is you're going to show them that there is no oil or grease or any sort of contaminant inside the brake drum, which would affect the braking capabilities. Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about is the tire, wheel, rims, all that good stuff. So we're going to talk about the tire. We're going to talk about tread, condition, and inflation. We'll start at the tread. It's evenly worn, no signs of excessive wear on either side. We have at least 4 30 seconds tread depth in the front, 2 30 seconds in the rear. If people ask you how you would get that reading, you would use a tread depth gauge, right? So, front tires are not retreads, and they are not mismatched diameters. The front, top, and back have no abrasions, bulges, or cuts or signs of leaking. Next, we'll talk about the inflation. We're going to check the valve stem. It is properly mounted and secured. The cap is in place, properly mounted and secured. It is accessible. Another keyword you have to say is accessible. There is no signs of leaking. The tire is at the proper inflation, and he would ask you, how do you know it's at proper inflation? I'll remove the cap, and I would use a tire gauge to test the inflation. We'll move on to the wheel itself. Wheel, not cracked, damaged, or broken. There's no welding repairs along the wheel. And the bolt holes are not elongated. The lug nuts and lugs themselves are properly mounted and secured. There is no streaking or shiny threads indicating looseness. They are not cracked, broken, or present. That's the tire and wheel. Okay, so that completes the end cap portion. We're going to go ahead and move on to the side of the vehicle. Remember, we do not need to go over lenses or reflectors because those were already covered. So first, we're going to do our traffic monitoring devices. Right? We already talked about the front of the glass when we were doing our end caps. Now we're going to talk about the brackets properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. All hardware is present. From the traffic monitoring devices, we're going to move right on down. We're going to go to our fuel and depth tank. All we have to say is both capture, press it tight. Both depth and fuel tanks are not showing any leaking. They are properly mounted and secured, and the lines going to and from the tank are not leaking, and they are in proper working position with no bulges and cuts. The next thing we're going to check for the side of the vehicle is our battery box. You do not have to open the box during the test. You will explain how you would. We'll just undo these two things and lift the battery lid. We're going to see the battery box and lid are properly mounted and secured. They are not cracked, damaged, or broken. I would inspect the battery by removing the cover. I would look to make sure that the battery itself is properly mounted and secured, and that there is no excessive corrosion, exposed or frayed wires, or loose wires inside the battery box. Alright, so we've checked the battery box. Next thing we're going to do is the frame. As now you have to do the cargo floor area as well. So we're going to say, I am inspecting the frame, cross members, and cargo floor area. There are no broken welds. Everything is properly mounted and secured with no excessive rust and no holes. And that is on the frame, any of the cross members, and the floor of the cargo area. At this point, we can do the rear of the vehicle, but because we are in lights, lenses, and reflectors, there's nothing to do at the rear of the vehicle. So that concludes your pre-trip inspection. It's really simple. The important thing is do it over and over again and do it the same way every time. If you do it the same way every time, it becomes a habit. You're less likely to mess up or forget something.